President, please be seated.
អង្គជំនុំជម្រះប្រកាសបន្តកិច្ចដំណើរការនីតិវិធីសកម្មការ
The chamber is now back in session, and I give the floor to Judge McLaven to put question to the witness. You may now have the floor.
Oui, merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, I understood that the medics at times could administer injections. Can you tell us which materials were used to perform these injections, and what kind of supplies did you have to possibly sterilize the needles?
Talking about the injection, it was not my main responsibility. What I did often at that time was distributing medicines. There were some prisoners who were handcuffed for so long, and their legs or hand became swollen.
Et qu'est-ce qu'on faisait au...
And what would happen to the prisoners whose hands and arms were so swollen? What kind of treatment were they given?
We gave them pills, and we also gave them injections to cure that kind of health condition.
And do you know what kind of product was injected and where the needles came from? Were the needles cleaned? Were they sterilized? Were there any procedures in place that had to be applied?
We boiled the syringe. We had a pot in which water was boiled to sterilize the syringe. Talking about medicine, we have B12 and B1, and those medicines were produced in Cambodia. And we also had some pills that were distributed to the sick persons.
Est-ce que vous savez...
Do you know which product was injected to the patients?
We only used B12 and B1 to cure the prisoners whose limbs became swollen or who became too exhausted.
What does B11 and B12 mean? Where were these products manufactured? On the basis of which product was this B11 or B12 manufactured?
ថ្នាំដែលគេផលិតនេះគឺថ្នាំ B ឌូ
The medicines B12 and B1. These two types of medicines were brought in to be used in the S21 to cure prisoners who had problems with numbness and swelling.
Earlier, you spoke about injections. So pills were not injected, obviously. So do you know what was being injected? Or more exactly, which products were being injected?
ចាក់ថ្នាំទឹកគឺថ្នាំ
That was B1 and B2. Those were the liquid medicine that were used to inject into sick prisoner who were sick of numbness and swelling.
Bien.
Fine. And once again, do you know on what was used to manufacture this B11 and B12 medicine?
ខ្ញុំអត់បានដឹងដែរគេយក
I did not know. I only received them from the distributor. The place where the medicine was produced was in Takmau.
Vous avez
You said apparently that there were accidents and that some people had died following injections. So did I understand you properly? And if such accidents happened, did this happen often? Or in any case, did this happen on several occasions?
Based on my observation, there were cases where prisoners died because of the abscess.
et ces abcès
And did these abscesses occur where the injection was administered? Is that what we must understand?
Yes, there were cases which the injection at the same spot after a lengthy period and it caused abscess. And there was a few cases.
quand vous dites
When you said that there were such cases, does that mean that this happened often, several times? Can you give us an idea of how many times you noted this kind of problem?
I saw it 2 times or 3 times. The abscess caused the wound swelling, but later on it healed by itself.
bien.
Fine, so I guess this is self-healing, yeah? So much was said about physical injuries. Did you see? Did you note if there were incidences of mental illness among the detainees? Were there cases of insanity among the prisoners at S21?
I did not see the cases of insanity. What I saw was people were thin, skinny because of the lack of food to eat.
Vous avez dit, me semble,
I believe you said that you had met prisoners who were desperate. Did you meet prisoners who wanted to commit suicide, who had committed suicide?
I did not witness that. Every morning when I distributed medicine, I did not witness such cases of that.
And did you note that there were people who were desperate among the S21 staff, or people who wanted to commit suicide, or people who had actually committed suicide?
No, I never witnessed such cases. I never witnessed such cases.
j'ai une dernière question.
I have a last question for you. In your statement, E3/7673, you spoke about someone by the name of Chan Samrang. Cham, who had Chan, who had scabies, corrects the interpreter. 00163710 in Khmer, 00401870 in English. What can you tell us regarding Chan, who had scabies? Chan Samrang.
Chan Samrai. He selected me from my village in Kampong Chnang when I was still 15 years old, and we were transported by 6 trucks to grow vegetable. So after we spent 2 nights, and then he transported us. So that was what I knew, and I did not know any other things about him.
Est-ce que
And later on, did you see Chan Samrang again? In particular at S21? And do you know if he had another name?
People call him Ta Chan Samrai, and I saw him only a few times.
Est-ce que le nom de
Does the name Mam Nai ring a bell? And when you say that you saw him a few times, does this mean that you saw him a few times at S21, or did you see him elsewhere?
I almost forget the person by the name Mom Nai. I cannot recall where he was based at that time. I knew only Ta Chan Samraing.
Est-ce que pour vous,
And do you believe that Cham Samrang is Mam Nai? And did you see him at S21?
My memory does not serve me well. I remembered that he transported us from Kampong Chnang to the city.
Fine. I have no further questions for the witness. Thank you.
President, thank you, Judge. And the floor is given to Judge Fence because you may have question to put to the witness. You may now proceed, Judge.
Yeah, no, thank you, President. Not many, just a couple of follow-up questions. Witness, the first question is about the injections. Did I understand it correctly that you didn't know what was in the injections, meaning what the ingredients were? You just know that they were labeled B1 and B12. Is this correct?
Yes, I knew only that medicine. There was also vitamin and I had no idea what materials that were used to produce those medicines. I only knew that they distributed those medicines for us to be used.
Did you get orders on when to use which medicine, or did you make the decision on a case-to-case basis, meaning when to use B1 and when to use B12, or not to use anything? Who made this decision?
Who was the one who decided for the medicine to be used, and those medicines were mainly used for numbness and swelling.
So in each individual case, it was Hoare who made the decision, not you. Is that correct?
Yes, that was Hu and Tree who had the authority to decide.
And my second question is to another subject. You told us that you treated prisoners with wounds on their back and also prisoners who had their toe or fingernails pulled. And when you were asked how often you had seen prisoners whose toe or fingernails had been pulled, you said, I think occasionally, not daily, occasionally. Can you be a bit more specific? Does that mean, I don't know, once a week, once a month, more often, less often?
ដែលគេមកយក
when the prisoners were interrogated and their nails or their nails were pulled, such cases did not happen often. There were only a few cases. When I distributed medicine at various holding cells at the different floor, there were 3 floors, and I witnessed only a few cases. It was not frequent encounters.
You were there about a year. How often did you see in this year cases of pulled finger and or toenails, if you can remember?
ប្រហែល
About half a month or 1 month.
Do you mean one case per half month or month? Is that what you are saying? One case every 2 weeks or every 1 month. Is that correct?
បាទឃើញតែប៉ុណ្្នឹងឯង
Yes, I witnessed it once every half month or 1 month.
And now you also mentioned that you saw or treated prisoners with open wounds on their backs. How often did that happen? How often, while you were there, did you see prisoners with open wounds on their backs?
ជាបាលនឹង
Talking about the healing, it was not frequent task, and because we were assigned with different tasks. For example, my task, I cure perhaps 2 or 3 prisoners.
Let me be clear. Are you saying in 1 year you only saw 2 or 3 cases with open back wounds? Is this what you are saying?
បាទ
I saw only 3 or 4 prisoners who had open wound on their backs, and I was the one who cured them. And they recovered. None of them died. That was, I talk about what I did and what I was assigned to do.
So just to be sure, you saw more cases of pulled nails than of open back in this year.
ច្រើនតែ
Mostly the wounds on the backs and the side. The most serious wounds were on the back.
Okay, thank you. I have no more questions.
បាទអរគុណ
President, thank you, Judge. And now I give the floor to the Defense Counsel to put question to the witness. And first, the chamber gives the floor to the Defense Counsel for Nuon Chea. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I have a few follow-up questions this morning for you. I would like to start by asking you what year you were born. Yesterday you were answering a question from the President saying that you were born in 1962. However, in your WRI E3/7673, it says that you were born in 1957. Can you tell us which one of the two it is, 1962 or 1957?
I was born in 1962.
So, am I correct when I say that when you started working in S21, you were about 15 or 16 years old?
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Witness, I have in front of me a document, E3/8386, Khmer ERN 00002640, English 00521634, and French 00532-736. It's an overview of how many people were working in which units, or in various units in S21. Under the paragraph guarding unit, it says inside guards 127 persons, medical staff 14 persons, and then it goes on. However, on the bottom of that same overview, I also see a category called 15 and 16-year-old teens, total number 76 persons, and 17 out of those 76 are receiving medical training. Considering your age while at S21, did you belong to the group that was still receiving medical training? Were you part of that at one point in time group of 17, 15 and 16-year-old teens that received medical training while on the job?
No. Only after we completed the training that we were sent to practice the medical job.
Do you know whether within S21 there were 15 or 16-year-olds who, other than you, were in medical training?
I did not know about that matter.
Earlier this morning, and I believe yesterday as well, you spoke about Tree. I believe you called him the chief of all medics. Do you know whether there was another medic, very young, your age, who was also called Tree?
I knew only two persons named Tree and Hua. Tree was the supreme chief and Hua was my team chief.
Let me read to you what you told the investigators. Mr. Witness. That is E3/7673. English ERN 0 04018770, Khmer 001637111, and French 00305212. You said the following: there was the medic called Tree, a cham, an ordinary medic like myself. Now he is still alive and lives in Kampong Tralak district west of Tnal Toting. And in that same sentence, medics Hor and Tree, who were chairmen, were imprisoned for 2 days when the Vietnamese arrived. So it seems that you are indeed talking about 2 persons called Tree. Is that correct?
One was Tree who was with my group, and another one was Tree who was overall in charge of the medical staff. And the Tree that was with my group also came from Kampong Tralak district.
Was Tree his revolutionary name, and was he his real name Pes Mat? Do you know that?
I did not know his other names, as I only knew him by Tree. Actually, I met him a few years back, and I still did not know his native name.
Is it correct that the Tree who was your age and who was also from Kampong Tralak district, that he was a cham? Was he of Islamic religion? Was he a cham?
Yes, he was Jam. But at that time he could speak Khmer clearly without any accent. At first I thought he was Khmer, but after the liberation I met him again, and then I learned that he was a Cham person. But during the Pol Pot regime, I believed that he was Cham. And as I said, I only know him by the name of Tree.
Do you know whether the other Tree or Hor knew at the time that your friend Tree was a cham?
Tree, who was a cham, was not my close friend, although he came from the same district, and we worked as medics together there.
Let me ask it differently. Did your friend Tree, while he was working as a medic at S21, get into trouble because he was a cham?
At that time, he actually ate communally with us. He also ate pork. He had no difficulty in this respect.
let me read to you an excerpt from trees WRI, which I believe is the tree that you speak about. Mr. President, I'll be referring to document E3/352, English ERN 001955708, Khmer 00186560, French 004018889. He says, let me start a little bit before that actually, in the very beginning of his statement. 3 children were selected in each sub-district, including Mak Sitem, whom I met at school number 5, where we had been growing sweet potatoes. In late '75, I went to study military techniques, tactics, strategy, and mine clearing at Military Technical School 703 in Bong Tompun. In mid-1976, we were selected and divided into 3 groups. One group was assigned to defend the border, one group was assigned to work at Presa, and another one was assigned to protect the city. I was in the group protecting the city, so I went to work in Tak Mau prison in the psychiatric hospital. End of quote. Can you confirm Tree's statement that there were 3 groups? One group defending the border, one group protecting the city, and one group assigned to work at Presa.
I did not know the detail about that.
But were you yourself a member of a group assigned to a special task? Do you remember this?
I cannot recall that. It happened several years ago.
That's no problem, Mr. Witness. A bit further down in Tree's statement, Khmer ERN 001866562, French 004018822, 821, and English 001957110. He says the following: I was on guard near Maksitem. I saw him cleaning wounds. Sometimes I helped distribute medicine to the prisoners. I wasn't selected to join the medical unit because I couldn't write or read well. Is that statement of Tree accurate? Did he sometimes help you distribute medicines?
I can recall that during my distribution of pills, and whether Tree actually asked to help me with the distribution. But I believe that I asked him to help me distributing the medicine because we came from the same district.
And was it possible that he saw you cleaning wounds?
I did not know, or maybe because I didn't actually pay attention to what he did. So I cannot say anything else.
Question was if you cleaned rooms.
Wounds.
Wounds?
Wounds.
Wounds, yes. If you cleaned wounds.
Yes, I cleaned wounds and I treated prisoners. I cleaned wounds of prisoners who had been interrogated.
I understand, but do you know whether Tree saw you while you were cleaning wounds of prisoners?
I did not know since I was focusing on cleaning the wound and whether Tree was standing nearby watching me doing it or not. My main focus was to treat the prisoners, so that all my attention was put there. There were also many prisoners, so I did not just look around. I focused on a particular prisoner that I was treating him.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Now let me follow up some questions that were asked to you by the chamber. The B1 and the B12 medicine that you supplied to prisoners. Earlier you were shown a list, E3/8461. That's a prisoner list, people who were seriously ill, and almost all of those prisoners on that list suffered from something called in English beriberi. Is that something that you knew at the time, that prisoners were suffering from something, what is in English called beriberi?
Yes, there were prisoners who had swelling issues, and there were also prisoners who had beriberi, and they would be given B1 and B12. That is, we would inject them with B1 or B12 to reduce the swelling.
Were you able to determine whether the swelling and also the symptoms of numbness that you described were the result of the prisoners suffering from beriberi?
Most of prisoners that I treated, they had more of a numbness disease than swelling. So I would say 2/3 of prisoners had this problem than the swelling. And that's due to the long period of time of being shackled.
Do you know whether numbness or swelling is also a symptom of beriberi?
Prisoner would say they had numbness or they had swelling, and upon what I saw, or sometimes I touch that part, then the medicine would be given accordingly. And usually I would put my thumb to put pressure on that part and whether it reflects back.
Mr. Witness, Duig, various occasions spoke about an epidemic of diseases that had spread at one point in time at S21. Are you aware of, or were you aware of any forms of epidemics of certain diseases?
Mr. President, I'd just like the reference to the testimony from Doik that counsel is citing.
I believe it's in the judgment. It's the reason Duik offered for moving execution sites to Chiang Ek.
Do we have a reference or not at the moment?
It's in your judgment, but not now at this moment. I will rephrase my question more openly. Mr. Witness, are you aware of any epidemics that took place in S21?
No, I was not aware of any epidemic or any spread of infection among the prisoners, as I myself only treated them.
Now let me move to the matter of prisoners or patients, as you call them, whose blood had been drawn. Earlier you were asked a question about this, and the prosecution referred to your own statement. Mr. President, that is document E3/7673, Khmer 001 63712, English 0040 1871, and French 0030 5213. The question is, the question asked to you was the following: was there any sign that blood was being drawn? And then you answered, I treated patients whose blood had been drawn. What exactly did you do to treat the patients whose blood had been drawn? What was your method of treatment?
During the regime, we did not have any other medicines besides the one that I have already told the chamber. Those prisoners were in a very weak state, and we did not have any special medicine to give to them. We only had the types of the medicines that I described earlier.
I understand. In that same answer you said the prisoners whose blood had been drawn were pale, so weakness and paleness, I understand, could be the result of blood being drawn. But do you recall anything specifically that you or your colleagues did to make sure that those prisoners whose blood had been drawn would no longer be any more weak or pale?
The treatment that we provided was the medicine that was to boost their energy, namely vitamin C. And there were no other modern medicines to give to them. I already described to the chamber the medicines that the chief gave to us. That is those medicines that were locally produced.
And do you know whether once you had treated those patients whose blood had been drawn recovered after you gave them vitamins? Did they recover again, and if yes, how long did that usually take?
It would be between 1 week to 2 weeks for the patients to recover, and of course they were in a weak state, but they did not die.
Are you aware of any instances of patients whose blood had been drawn but subsequently died?
No, I did not encounter that. Because if during my treatment of a prisoner dies, then I would be in trouble. I was never punished or sanctioned for such act from the time that I started working there until the time of the arrival of the Vietnamese.
Let me ask it a little bit broader, Mr. Witness. Are you aware of examples of prisoners who died after their blood was drawn, with whom you had nothing to do? Prisoners whom you didn't treat afterwards. Do you know of any examples of such prisoners having died after their blood was taken?
Prisoner died from serious illnesses, and usually the illnesses lasted for a week or two. And in each building, maybe within a week or a fortnight, a prisoner died from severe sickness. And usually, if there is the case, then medics who was assigned to work at that particular building would carry the dead prisoner to be buried outside.
Let me ask it in one more different way. Are you aware of any example of a prisoner whose blood was drawn that had died because of that?
On the issue of blood drawing, I did not know the detail, and I did not know whether any prisoner died after the blood had been drawn. The blood drawing exercise was done by other senior medics. As for me, my assignment was to treat the prisoners at their room. So I did not know any detail regarding the blood drawing exercise.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Have you ever seen at S21, while you were a medic, a junior medic, an ambulance, a white car with presumably a red cross on it, an ambulance car that could take prisoners from S21 to the hospital?
I did not know whether there was such a car. While I was working there, I saw vehicles that transported prisoners in or out. But that's all I could say, because mostly I spent time in the rooms where prisoners were detained, and I was there for the treatment of those prisoners who were sick.
Maybe my last question before the lunch break, Mr. President, and I would like to show the witness a photo, photo 51, which is attached to E3/9431. It's a photo of a building. English ERN 001-98080, Khmer 001-81447, French 00181501. I would like to give the English version because I wouldn't like him to read what it says below. So this is the photo I would like to show.
អង្គជំរះ
Yes, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, you can see the premises of S21 on that photo, and behind it there is a house. Do you recognize that house?
Frankly speaking, I did not wander around within the compound during the regime, so I could not tell you about the house or the buildings in the photo.
Let me be more specific. Could that be the house belonging to the medical unit, where the medical unit was stationed?
I cannot say. I forget about it. I only knew that the medical house was located opposite the building of S21.
This is a good moment, maybe, Mr. President, to pause.
President, thank you. And I have two questions that I'd like to put to the witness regarding the blood drawing incident. Can you tell the chamber that the prisoners who've drawn have been blood by senior medic or chief of a medic at S21? Answer. It was the chief of the medic who drew blood. And also the group chief would also engage in the blood drawing exercise. But for us junior medics, we were not allowed to do that, as we would be assigned to treat the prisoners in the rooms in the building. Question. You state that the chief of the medic and the senior medics did not allow junior medics to go near where they drew blood from prisoners. If that is the case, how did you come to know that the chief of the medic or the senior medic actually drew blood from prisoners? Answer. Because I saw the blood sacks underneath the staircase. So I did not know where they actually drew blood from prisoners. I only saw those blood sacks. And I was assigned to treat those prisoners whose blood had been drawn as their health was weak. Question. And you said that you treated prisoners whose blood had been drawn. What information did you obtain regarding the fact that the prisoner whose blood had been drawn and that you were instructed to treat those prisoners? Is that the case? Their blood had been drawn by the chief of the medic or senior medic? Answer. I did not know where the chief of the medic drew blood from prisoners. What I can say is that I saw blood sacks on the staircase, and later on I was instructed to treat those prisoners. Question. You said you received instructions from the chief of the medical unit to take care of prisoners whose blood had been drawn. I am unsure about your answer. Did you receive such instructions from the chief of the medic before the prisoners who were subject to be taken for the blood drawing? Or did you receive instruction later, that is, after those prisoners whose blood had been drawn and they were returned to their room, and then you were instructed to go there and treat them? Answer. They were actually taken to the building, and then I were instructed to treat them, to take care of them. President, thank you, witness, for your response. It is now appropriate for our lunch break. We take a break now and resume at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and experts during the break time, and invite him as well as the duty counsel back into the courtroom at 1:30 this afternoon. Security personnel, you are instructed to take Kyo Sampron to the waiting room downstairs and have him returned to attend the proceedings this afternoon before 1:30. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ